Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Jack Beasley. I am a freelance photographer and videographer in the Phoenix, Arizona metro area. Over the last couple of videos, I've asked you guys to send in your images that you want reviewed on this channel. And many of you did. Some of you sent one, some of you sent 10. Now, obviously, I can't review all 10. But what I did was I tried to pick and choose some examples from as many people as I could to include in this video that illustrated certain things I wanted to put across, certain examples I wanted to show. In some cases, there was images that were just stunning. They were beautiful, and I wouldn't change anything about them, or I'd have to be very picky about it. Others needed a little more help. So as I go through this is my criteria as I evaluate these photos. I'm going to be looking for a peak of action. I'm going to be looking for cheers and tears, which is basically emotions. Either they're very happy, they're very sad about something that happened during this sporting event. Look, if there is an example, some sort of sense of place, some sort of thing that tells you the story of what's going on, and if possible, humor, although that's harder to find in sporting events. On the technical side, I'm going to be looking for things like composition, cropping, white balance, exposure, noise reduction, things like that. Now, remember, as we go through this is just my opinion. Somebody else may have a very different opinion. I'll probably hear about it in the comments below, I'm sure. Now, as I do this, I'm actually going to head down to my office downstairs because it's got a nice big screen on it and out of my little studio right here. So let's head on down and start reviewing some photos. All right, we got several photos here. What I'm going to do is go through these fairly quickly. The photos that I think are better, that have fewer problems, I'll probably be a little more nitpicky on, pointing out minor flaws. The ones that I think are not as good, I'll probably just hit some of the big highlight issues that I think really need to be addressed the quickest. With that said, this is a photo from Mr. Bill Biggs. This photo was taken at ISO 6400, 135 millimeter, f3.3, 1/750th of a second. And overall, I think it's a very good image. Exciting. Obviously, it was just right after a touchdown with American football. So if I'm going to be picky about the whole thing, is a couple things. One, I really wish I could see a face. It would just be helpful. It's not necessary. I get the whole emotional impact of this particular photo, but whenever possible, I try to get a face in. Now, to get a little pickier, and let's zoom in a little bit, I like to come into 100% on all the images. Obviously, there was some noise reduction done, and I believe he used Topaz denoise, if I'm not mistaken. One thing I am noticing, though, and I'll zoom back out, is the uniforms on the players appear to have a magenta tone to them. It's very slight, it's very subtle, but this is pretty common on football fields at high school level. If you notice, the lights up here have a bit of a green tone to them. So if we try to correct this magenta, which I'll do right here, just use a little white balance going on here. See, everything turned green when I tried to turn the white uniforms back to white. So obviously that's, the whole background turned green. It probably went overboard on the green here on the tint of the uniforms. Even if I back it off a little bit, up here in the right-hand corner for a white balance, it gets slightly better. But you're just fighting this whole magenta green thing. And again, this happens at a lot of high school football fields that I encounter. It's hard to fix it, and you kind of have to do a compromise, kind of like what you've done right there. But overall, good photo. Let's go to the next one that you sent me. This is what I really like about this photo is obviously lots of action right here. If I zoom in real carefully, closely, obviously there's some noise reduction. Again, I think he used Topaz denoise, ISO 4000, 86 millimeter, f3.2, 1/1000th of a second. So lots of really good action. I applaud it. What I really like, and I don't know if Bill did it or it just came naturally, but you notice the background is much darker than your subject. And there's ways to do that in Lightroom, which I'm using today, or a lot of other photo editors, but it helps make your main subject stand out. So I applaud Bill for that. or maybe it was just in that particular arena that the audience was darker than the subjects in the center. But either way, it came out really nice. So I applaud Bill for that. Let's move on to the next set of photos. All right, so let's go to this next image, and this is by Mr. Joe Salimo. So right off the top, yes, not a lot of nice, good action. However, I see some points I want to bring out. Number one, it looks like they're running uphill. So you really want to try to correct those horizons so they're a little bit better. And if it was me, I would crop in a little bit, just because you don't need all that extraneous stuff around them. So horizons, a little bit of cropping. There's that. Another problem I see are the whites are completely blown out. In fact, if I turn on highlights, you could see that Lightroom's telling me all these areas that now have red blotches on it. There is no data in the whites in those areas. What I suspect was done here is this was photographed in JPEG with in-camera noise reduction. I'm not sure what camera model it was, but either way, the whites have just gone and blown out completely. I don't know if it was overexposed or what, but that's a problem. So what I recommend is that you photograph in RAW and then you edit. Most editors have pretty decent noise reduction. Lightroom's built-in noise reduction is very good. Some of the other ones are also very good. Try it that way instead of shooting JPEG under these conditions. You might find you'll be able to fix these blown out highlights a lot easier. But other than that, nice action image. The subject looks pretty sharp, but yeah, I would try for RAW and see what happens there. So this one is also from Joe, and this is what I would do. This is your main subject right here. The rest of these folks and this area up above them adds nothing to this photo. So I would crop way in. Let's do that. Crop way in to about like that. This is shot at 2000ths of a second, f1.8, ISO 4000. Let's zoom in. So it is a little noisy, but not horrible. I'm also guessing this was in-camera noise reduction, but that's just a guess. But overall, not too bad. Whites are a little overexposed here, but it's not horrible. But I think just a little bit of cropping on this image and it would be just fine. It also looks like you shot this standing up, and I would recommend getting down, sitting on the floorboard. It actually makes your subjects look a lot bigger, more athletic than if you're standing. So there you go, Joe. Some suggestions for your photos. All right, these next are from Raymond Gleedle. Again, I hope I'm getting those names right. Well, this is a very nice photo. I know exactly what is going on here. The subject is nice and sharp, some good noise reduction, doesn't look too grainy. I'm not sure which system you used, but it came out really good. I really don't have too much to talk about on this one. I think it came out really nicely, so congratulations. The next one is also by Raymond. So in this one, lots of nice action. I really like it. Zoom in on the main subject. He's in pretty good focus. It looks like it's more focused here than on his face, but it's not horrible. So I can certainly live with it. What does bother me on this photo is the subject over here with the head cut off. I don't think it needs to be there. So if it was me, I would crop in like about right there. Something like that. Something like that. The other thing I notice is that the colors seem a little warm. And let's try a little white balance, see what happens. So that's brought up the whites very nicely. You might argue it's a little too blue. And we can fix that. But yeah, slightly better. So I would go with something like that if it was me. But other than that, it's a very nice photo, good action photo. So good job, Raymond. All right, so this next image is from the First Christian Church. I didn't get a name to go along with it. ISO 12,800, 200 millimeter, f2.8, 1,000ths of a second. So, all right, well, let's hit the big things first. Personally, I would crop in a little bit. So maybe even like that. Maybe like that. Not, I tend to be a tight cropper. Maybe you want the catcher's mitt in there. That's fine too. But just take a little bit of this excess imagery off the left. Make him a little bit more centered. Just a thought on that. But probably the bigger issue I see right here is how grainy it is. I'm guessing in-camera noise reduction, I'm guessing. So once again, like I was talking about earlier, one of the earlier photos, you might want to shoot raw, use the editors, whatever noise reduction you have in the editor that you're using. Usually some of them are pretty good. That's what I would do. Yeah, this to me is just unacceptable. It also makes your subject look not as sharp. So that's a problem right there. So that's what I would recommend. Crop in a little bit, try raw, try some good software out there that does good noise reduction. All right, this next image is very nice. It's from Steve Lawson. ISO 100, 200 millimeter, f10, 125th of a second. I am not really a motorsports photographer, but I know something I like when I see it, and this is really nice panning, beautiful colors, nice and sharp. I mean, this could be in a calendar. It looks really good, so congratulations on that. Steve also submitted another image. You see here, the blacks have gone completely black. I'll actually turn that off. So the problem with this one is it's not as sharp. You can see that right there. Panning didn't quite work as well. In fact, he didn't pan at all. It was at 2,000ths of a second. The problem I have is your subject's gone right off the end of the photo. Usually we try to get the main subject pointing through the image rather than off the edge. So if it was me, I might crop it in more like this, which gives the illusion there's still some space for this motorcycle to go into. Beyond that, it's not really sharp. Like I said, once again, this image is beautiful. So once again, congratulations on this one. Think about cropping on that one. All right, these next two are by a gentleman named Tobias. I'm not even gonna try your last name, Tobias. And I have a couple images from you. Let's start with this one. I love the emotion. That's great to catch emotion, and we always appreciate that. What is a problem for me, however, is this arm's cut off, the feet are cut off. And if it was me and I had this image, I would do something like this, where it's just him and all that other people around him, which kind of detracts from the image, are gone. And this is much more impactful. Again, not crazy about the arm getting cut off, but at least we took him up to mid-level here, so at least you don't see the legs cut off. But I would bring it in a lot tighter. It's pretty sharp, but we've zoomed in quite a bit, and that might be affecting the sharpness right there. You also sent in this image, which is great. I really like it. Zoom in, she's nice and sharp. So Tobias, nice image here. The background's pretty soft, which I like, more bokeh, as they like to call it. So this is a good image, and I really like it. But on this one, I would crop in significantly and get rid of all this extraneous information. All right, these next two images are from a photographer named Lisa Smith. I think Lisa is a more advanced photographer, because both of her entries are pretty nice. The only thing I would say on this one, hey, of course, nice action. I would crop in a little bit on this one because you don't need everything that's behind them. I also like this way it kind of makes your main subject, we're doing in thirds here basically, between your main subject here, this other person right there. So kind of the rule of thirds business. You didn't need all that information off to the right. So I just think it makes it tighter, better looking. It's toward the end of the day. I can see it's a late afternoon. Looks a little warm, but not bad, and that's fine. The other image you sent in was also baseball. So again, nice action right here. This guy's leaping up. We got the base runner coming into slide. Only problem is with this one, the background's really busy. This is another one I would crop in about like this, maybe like that. One way you could fix this is similar to that basketball photo I had earlier, is maybe darken up the background a little bit in some way, shape, or form. Leave your main subjects here about this tone, but maybe darken up the background half a stop or so. Not so it's so terribly obvious, but it will help your subjects pop out. But obviously I'm thinking Lisa has done this before. She's been taking photos for a while and looks like she's got some good gear. So overall, nice photos, Lisa. This images, I only got one from Michael, but this is from Michael Collins. Very nice photo. I don't have data to go with it. Obviously, you're using a high enough shutter speed. You've lightened up your subject, even just in shadow. You've pulled up the detail in there. So overall, I really have nothing to complain about. It's a really nice photo. These next two images are from Ruben Booker. So what we have here is a little girl hitting a ball or attempting to hit a ball, or she did hit a ball. We got this whole big flag here, which I assume is kind of like a leading line thing you're going for. But here's the biggest problems I'm seeing right here is if I zoom into her face, she is out of focus. The background's in focus, especially this grass right here, but she is not, which tells me your focus point was probably here. So the way to fix that is focus on your main subject. This is why I use back button focus when I use continuous autofocus, is focus on my main subject, take my finger off back button, recompose, and shoot. But beyond that, this is what I would do. The sign right here, not caution no swimming, is kind of distracting, unless you did it for a purpose, but I think that's distracting away from your main subject. So I would try to trim it up more like this. Something like this. Let me get this. I think this is more impactful. And you're not as distracted by that sign that was onto the side. So I would do something like this. And remember what I said about focusing points on your main subject. The other image that Ruben sent in is this one right here. And this one suffers from the same problem the last image you had. Your main subject, which I assume is this diver right here, is not terribly sharp. It is sharp, however, here or back here, but not terribly sharp on your main subject. Also, like the other one, you've got a lot of information going on here that doesn't add to the photo, in my opinion. So I would cut it to something like this. And I would also straighten it. You got these poles right here. You try to keep your horizons straight. Anyway, I would take it to something like this. Again, subject's not terribly sharp, so that's a bit of a problem, but I think cropping would definitely help this photo in a lot of ways. And these last two images are my favorite of this batch. First one is soccer player, shot at night. It's 16,000 ISO, 1600th of a second, f3.2. You might want to consider shooting, say, 1,000th of a second and opening up to 2.8. Try to get that ISO down a little bit. But I can tell you use some good noise reduction. I'm not sure which brand or model you used. I'm guessing it's a Topaz product just by the look of it. That's just a guess on my part. But overall, pretty good. The whites are a little overdone, but not horrible. And it's a good action photo, so good on you. The next photo is my actual favorite of this whole batch because I love great celebration photos. And this is a great celebration photo. So congratulations on that. Looks like he just scored and they're celebrating the victory, or at least that score. I might straighten it out a little bit here with the level of the field. But other than that, this is really nice. Your subject is nice and sharp. So congratulations on that. Looks really good. This is my favorite of the whole batch. So good job, Jaime or Jamie, however you pronounce it. All right, folks, I want to thank everybody who sent in images, whether I said they were awesome or I kind of picked them apart. Either way, I appreciate you guys sending in those images and hopefully you learned something from it. If you like this video, I would appreciate it if you'd hit that like, hit that subscribe if you're not already subscribed, and the notification. I really appreciate it. It really helps out the channel quite a bit. And if you didn't like it, that's okay. I appreciate you hanging out as long as you did. Until next time, I'll see you later.